Is everybody ready? Basically, I think.
Affirmative, Captain.
Yes.
All right. What's important about this long distance journey? It is not a secondary implant removal experience. That happens out in space, in the hue outside of Earth, for a good reason. And those implants are removed from friends of ours that you all knew once long ago, probably crossed paths with the very people that removed implants somewhere in your past. That's yet to be discovered by you, who these beings are that you're introduced to. When we go on the long distance journeys, not just to the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, which is above the void known to Buddhists and certain esoteric groups on Earth, it is into the realm of the Supreme Being and further. We most definitely tread there. And it is not a Supreme Being. It does not call itself that. That's lower world consciousness thinking. The tendency is to put something like that on a pedestal. And when people are brainwashed to do that, it's always receding away from them up on the pedestal, and they never reach it. So we don't want to do that. The only requirement of this source behind all life that it has for any of us is that we respect it, know it personally, and respect all life. That's it. I would say the proper definition for divine love is respect for all life. And to do that means we have to know that life. Not just life on Earth. That's too limiting, too entrapping. We have to embrace the entire multidimensional creation. As Atmas, spherical beings, we are definitely capable of doing that. No question about it. We're made of the same source energy as Source itself. And we're going to be visiting that source on this journey. We're going to be more than just looking at it. We're going to be going inside it and coming out of it again. We don't stay long up there because it's so far removed from the lower worlds of time and space, below the void, our bodies would perish if we stayed there very long. It's meant for the Atma to go there. But you're going to be bringing a body form with you there that is made of pure energy. It's a projection from the core of the Atma itself. We all know how to do this. We've always known how to do this. It's just that people have been terrorized or misdirected to fear or forget or not want to look at this aspect of themselves. And the reason for that is simple: responsibility. When I say responsibility on this level, what I'm referring to is co-creative responsibility with the source itself, which means that we realize that the way the conditions of the universe are run on Earth and in the lower planes of time and space, where there's good and bad and negative and positive and all that stuff, we were responsible in the beginning, everyone here on this journey and everyone else, for creating things the way they are. It's one thing people do not want to take responsibility for. And we must, if we intend to be free in that multidimensional creation. Because once we do that, bitching about the way things are will not fix or change anything ever. But working in freedom with responsibility, which equals freedom, ultimate freedom equals ultimate responsibility. It just means that we're willing to co-create fixing it, changing it, making the lower worlds of time and space better than they've ever been in new ways. The way it was created in the beginning, it was set up as fixed and finished. It could not be changed. That has changed. In fact, it's changed for the first time in several hundred billion years in the last 10 years or so. And it's heading in a new direction it's never headed in before. And we are in the middle of plugging into that change co-creatively. If you've been around a couple 100 billion years running lives, and long ago you forgot some of the higher use of faculties that would allow you to travel back across the void and go home, which is what we were supposed to be doing. And people on Earth and other worlds haven't been doing this. So the creations remained fixated, fixed, stilted, however you want to put it. This cannot stay this way forever. What we call the Hue Expansion Ray is I would have to put it as a consciousness change in the source behind all life itself. It was co-created by certain beings that went back home and delivered new ways of doing things from billions of lifetimes of being lost in the lower worlds. And when that was tested as true, necessary, and kind, which it was, you might say there was a bit of a firestorm up there. Because in billions of years, no one's been bringing anything back there. People want to go there to get something. It's the wrong formula. We're supposed to go there with I suppose, the passionate, co-creative, childlike wonder to give something back. That's the huge difference that people don't get. We're supposed to return to help change it. Even in the Galactic Alliance, which is many, many hundreds of millions of years old, 450 million spacefaring worlds, just in the parallel dimension where the Milky Way is, you see in space. Those beings, as paradisical as their worlds are, were not returning either. This is changing, which makes it possible for such beings without subconscious minds or problems like we have on Earth to intervene in Earth, at least to the degree to keep us from destroying ourselves, which we've done a number of times on this planet. Nuclear war was already waged on this planet millions of years ago. It's not new. Weapons like that are outlawed in space. You can't bring them there. The U.S. Space Force and what they're planning is never going to take place because they already know, and they haven't disclosed this yet, they cannot take such things in space, fight over the spoils of outer space with Russia and China as if they ever had the right, and then see who divides up the spoils. The races they're about to run into, and some of them know it, are so much more advanced than Earth people. There's never going to be a Star Trek future with radioactive warp core driven space engines. No. They do not use such energy to get around the universe. It's only destructive, and it's only man-made. The development of such science was not created on this planet by Nazi scientists either. It was illegally imported through that regime at the time. And basically, some beings got control of them. They didn't have a choice. World War II was about that in reality. And the beings that were behind them lost. And that was not about Earth. We're very fortunate because the few reptilians and greys that are abducting people up to about 25 years ago are no longer in our solar system or on this planet. They were removed, not by us. You think about the grace of that, what that means. As all of you know, what people call disclosure has begun in the United States for the first time in 70 years this last year. Pentagon disclosure of tracking TikTok craft with F-16s off a carrier group off California. Bob Lazar being actually substantiated. People in Congress interviewing classified people high up, talking about not only did they find a craft in Roswell, they got bodies, and all of that's starting to come out now. They're interviewing pilots, a person who represents pilots, for both the military and commercial airline pilots. And they're passing laws to make it so they can tell everyone what they really saw out there that they wouldn't do because they would get fired. People in the military would get put in jail if they talked about it in military prison. It's the highest level of classification there is because this was set up after World War II for survivability. It was set up so that a country like the United States, if Washington was destroyed with underground bases, they could survive it. But it was also done because of fear, because the races that certain presidents met were so advanced beyond us, both human and non-human alike, scared the hell out of them. And they wouldn't give up their nuclear weapons or radioactive materials, which was required for these beings to come here and fix this world and make us a spacefaring member of a vast world organization of systems. This is past tense. A number of people have come here to meet with government people to get this done, and they were turned down. Nobody forced their will on anyone. Nobody took over governments. When these ships were shot at, some of their people captured or dead, there was no retaliation that ever came to this world. You'd think after 70 years, people here would finally get the message. Fear drives people to do things in misdirecting ways only. Subconscious fear influencing them. This is for political, religious leaders. Doesn't matter who. Everybody on earth is implanted. They have subconscious minds they were never meant to have in the first place. There's no science on earth to tell people where the subconscious mind is. It's not in the brain. This is a problem for people who think of themselves as a human body, because they are not one. Never were. It's so strange. We're spherical energy beings. Yes? Someone was going to ask a question? No? Okay. People talk about, and I'm going to start to do ask to mute. Let's see. I'll just mute that. Mute that. I think we're good. Mute that, and then we'll get a better recording quality throughout the journey. And mute that. Okay. People on Earth talk about theta or soul or atma. Usually they don't talk about atma because it's more of an off-world term, but they think of that's what we are. That's the essence of living being. That's not a physical body. But nobody tells anybody what it is, what it looks like. It has structure, form, its functionality. It is non-nuclear, non-atomic energy. It is not made of matter or DNA at all. The energy in space that surrounds galaxies and goes through the dimensions is an omnipresent power. Advanced scientists and the classified ones that have met with extraterrestrials on Earth know that energy is an omnipresent power that is non-nuclear, is non-atomic. It's powerful and it's everywhere. Galaxies create electromagnetic fields to turn on their axis to float in this power. More advanced races know how to work with it. Earth people do not know how to work with it yet. You're not going to take a rocket ship with explosive fuel out into space any distance to any planets. It takes too long, and people cannot survive space trips in zero gravity. Artificial gravity is required or people die along the way. Even Elon Musk knows this. He's got to have artificial gravity before it gets going, or it's not going to work. I myself would not get into a tin can and wait 2 years to go back and forth to Mars. Wouldn't do it if you paid me to do it. I go to Mars anyway. Forget the rocket ship. Beings get around the universe with much more advanced technology that does not pollute, by the way. And they're not going to allow Earth people with their dundering, blundering knuckleheads to go out in space and pollute the rest of the universe that's more advanced than they are. Earth's solar system is, in fact, quarantined. Classified people know this. They've reverse engineered some anti-gravitic vehicles, the triangular ones, and a few things, but they cannot take them to the stars. They're prevented from doing that. And they're not going to be allowed to do it the way we are. So people leaders of countries who are making decisions every day based on fear are misdirecting everything, because those are wrong decisions in every case. Fear is negative. It's artificial. It's implanted. It creates a military-industrial complex that has no future. It actually doesn't, the way it's structured, so it has to change. There isn't enough people awake on Earth at this point to, en masse, collectively change this planet in time. It has to come from outside, from the greater God, if you will. Because most of it's out there and in the other realities, not just on this one little planet. As Atmas, in that spherical area with all those layers and those teardrops, those are faculties. In many people, some of them, a good percentage of them, are just turned off or dormant. Enough's running in them so that we can run bodies, which is a very complex process. To run a nervous system of an Earth body, bodies on Earth do not run themselves. They do not have a built-in energy source. They're genetic entities, and they have to be, an energy beam has to be directed through the pineal gland to the nervous system to run it. Once that's disconnected, the body just falls over dead. That's bodies. They're fine, but we should know we aren't them and what we are. So we go on this journey for a specific purpose. And the purpose is to journey back home. Maybe for the first time in billions of years. Plug into it directly. I serve to help you visualize what you should know how to visualize on your own. But that won't work until certain faculties in the Atma are turned back on. These longer journeys are for that purpose. We go there by direct experience. The beings we work with teach by direct example, not on a blackboard. The hue runs through them and they serve as an example. It rubs off on us. So, when you imagine someone you respect and love or grateful they're in your life, that's a person, place, or thing. But it just needs to be genuine. It just needs to be, when you see it or visualize it, whatever it is, it makes you smile inside. This is a power of the core of the Atma itself. It is directly linked to the source and always has been. Doesn't matter how much you've been made to forget or how much you forgot on your own. We're still alive and functioning because we're connected to that omnipresent power. That will never change. Our ability to recover what we were made to forget before we were born on this planet, that is reversible. We can do that. Yes, we are recording. Anna was asking. All we're doing when we leave the body on automatic in this trance state that advanced beings call sleep is something you're all masters at. You don't have to learn how to do it. You know how to put the body to sleep every night. Easy as pie. When you visualize going somewhere to the store or the mall, the faculty that is used for you to see where it is has to be seen first before the body will go follow where you send it. That's not being made up in the human brain at all. The human brain, the gray cells, those brain cells, that multi-billion circuited neuron center, does not have a motion picture camera in it or a movie projector screen to see things on like people mistakenly believe on Earth. This is why they don't solve a lot of neurological problems, psychological problems, and other problems, because they don't understand where these faculties of higher being come from. You are all running bodies on a number of different dimensions simultaneously as a single Atma with the body you're running on Earth. In the astral plane, people have heard about, it's one Earth term for the next major division upward in the multidimensional creation. All matter is moved through emotion. We get our emotions from that life. In the causal plane, we get cause and effect and training and how energy affects matter, thought and feeling. In the mental plane, thought moves things instantly. People are much more careful there about what they think because it manifests on the spot, good or bad. The etheric level, which is a barrier just below the void, bodies are more transparent, made of a little bit of matter, but mostly energy. A little bit of negativity still there. When we go up into the void, that is a pure realm of hue, first sound. There is no structure. There are no structures there. So some people get there and think that's the supreme being. There's nothing there and you can't go further. This is not correct at all. It is a barrier between the lower worlds of time and space and the realms we all came from originally, where there's no negative nature whatsoever. Not positive, not negative, just serenity of being. That's as high as it gets. From serenity of being, when there's no fear present whatsoever, we can co-create and change things in wondrous ways. That's all. So what I'm saying to you and sharing with you telepathically, being to being, is that to create properly, to make change in the lower worlds of time and space for the first time in billions of lives, we have to do it in a realm where there's no negative nature with those who also work this way. And then we can bring it back here. But you can't create it from Earth, working out on things in Earth with Earth people with physical matter and expect change. We're working from physicalness to physicalness, and it doesn't change from there. It can't. So when we step across that void where we're headed tonight, what changes in you is one way. It cannot be reversed. This is why in space we plug into the pure hue that is brought down into the lower worlds of the hue, which is coming from the source itself where we're headed. We get plugged into that. And then it begins to take over your further enlightenment, let's put it that way, because it sees in us that we're ready to go back and become a co-creator with it. Things change then. It doesn't just support you, unbiased, unbigoted, unprejudiced, just supporting all life, good and bad, worlds and planets without end. No. It starts to take on a relationship with us as individual Atmas. This is why we go plug into that pure space, which we're about to do, outside the planet, outside of the negatively impacted atmosphere of Earth, which is just packed full of negative things. Recorded in the H2O in the water and in the air, which is H2O has incredible abilities that people on Earth are just starting to uncover. Earth's oceans should be glowing if they're charged properly. Most people should have a glow around their bodies if they were charged properly. An example of this would be if a spaceship from the Galactic Alliance landed in your backyard and a man and a woman got out, just celestial. Garments are different, their energy is much higher, which they consider normal, by the way, then you would almost compulsively want to put them on a pedestal and look at them as angels, because our energy is so depleted on this planet. The oceans are depleted of the primary power, which is stored in the ocean, except near the equator. Just enough to keep things alive here, but it's not normal at all. People on Earth have nothing to compare this to. Nobody on Earth trains them any differently. People are not trained how to leave their bodies when they're born by their own peers, family, governments, so they don't know it when they grow up. They do it anyway. Everyone leaves their body every single night, without exception. They're not trained to turn on certain faculties of being and purposefully bring back awareness of what we're doing when we're out. We grow up with a misdirecting subconscious habit that is not a good one. So when we go on these journeys, it begins to reverse all that. The journeys are about turning on certain teardrops in those different levels that have been dormant for maybe billions of years. What is necessary for us to go back home and be co-creators with that source. I'm going to send out the hue now. In a number of higher tone levels, because there are people like Lemriel, some of the beings you're introduced to that remove implants, they're involved in this. The master teachers, I know, mostly those that are not from Earth. And some that have and reside on Earth, like Ramu. Opelum is not from Earth. He's from Oceania. Ambassador Lemriel has planets, but you would not, if you landed on them, you wouldn't see any of them. The teachers of the Say Rays are the silent mentors, and we're going to visit them tonight as well. One of the most rare things you can ever do in all of eternity, since the time began, before the worlds of time and space were created, is to meet with and have some association with such beings. That can only be done above the void. And for the first time, it's done in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. That place was built a little over 10 Earth years ago for the first time. It allows beings like them and master teachers and us in the middle to kind of get between them. Imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful they're in your life, a person, place, or thing, but something that makes you smile when you first see it. This opens a doorway through the pineal gland in the center of the human brain. In the Vatican, there's a big statue of a pine cone in the courtyard. It represents the pineal gland. They don't want people knowing about that, because that's how you get in and out of the body. That's how you are the Atma, looking at the body from above it, or in it, or beyond it. Human bodies can put in the trance state we call sleep, and what happens is the pineal gland secretes serotonin, and this creates melatonin, which puts the body in the trance state we call sleep. So it will run on automatic when you leave it. That's the actual secret. Something you all knew well anyway a long time ago. I'm not teaching you this for the first time, maybe waking it up for the first time, but it's within you already. Telepathy, or the definition of it, is not psychic. You might look in the dictionary and they'll group it with psychic things, but it isn't. It's a pure form of communication between each Atma and the primary power behind all creation. It has no negative nature. None can be brought to it. Negative things cannot be recorded in space, out in space, in what they used to call dark matter. It cannot be recorded there. It stays within the atmosphere that surrounds Earth, and it needs a good cleaning, that's for sure. There is a man and a woman from the Galactic Alliance, fellow Atmas, Thetas, whatever you want to call them. They're standing behind each one of you where you reside. A couple. They're couples for a reason. Masculine and feminine Atmas work better together in certain situations that know what they're doing and who they are while they're running a body somewhere. The body forms that are standing beside each of you are male and female. They look to be about 36, but perfectly flawless. Handsome, gorgeous. Each one of you, hovering near the ceiling as a spherical Atma, have these two beings hovering beside you, and in front of them is this body form that looks perfect. You are also showing each of us a perfect body form, about 36, perfectly handsome, perfectly beautiful. This we've always known how to do. It's how we show ourselves to each other. But fear keeps people from accessing the awareness of this, that's all. Fear is artificial, it's implanted. One way or another. When the secondary implants are gone, the primary implant is looked into, which is how you were killed and put on Earth with no memory, to be frank about it. No insult intended to your name, Frank. Anyway, no insult intended at all. That's just the name. But it's what they're doing is turning off your primary implant. If you've had secondary implants removed, I think you all have, then you don't have to worry about those. The primary implant is still a concern, but it's under your volitional control. Whether you can accept this now or not, it is true. That means whenever fear of the present and future comes up, you can decide to look into it out of habit or turn it off just by looking away from it into something constructive, a beautiful hummingbird, a waterfall. It does not matter. You have this ability now if you use it. This journey to Source will help strengthen that ability on Earth a great deal. What's taking place with that is we're creating a vortex, a doorway between the physical universe and space and the void. And Satnam is a being that you all meet on this journey. It just means true name, first sound, first personification in any human-looking form you'll ever see. Probably the most ancient. It is not a body. It is an energy form that looks human. The Atma is hovering above him. This vortex is created by myself and others out in space in order to facilitate our journey bypassing the lower planes of time and space to go to some place really important. You okay there, Renata? Good to close your eyes for this journey. At some point you will want to. Why? Because it shuts off the input of energy from Earth's negatively impacted atmosphere into your consciousness. You do it every night when the body goes to sleep, and then an inner vision begins to turn on. This is important. I close my eyes most of the time when I'm guiding you on this journey. As I'm out of my body now, I've learned how to run it and speak through it when it's asleep. This is normal. The voice is set up telepathically so that you have something to visualize and focus on while the body goes to sleep, but you stay awake, alert, aware. This is out-of-body travel 101, folks. Direct projection is a more advanced form that goes directly anywhere we wish to go instantly. I prefer to travel a little bit slower way so we can see things along the way. It's just more fun, and it makes us much more enlightened and awake and aware of things we were made to forget. So, you are hovering near the ceiling. This is just daydreaming. Everybody knows how to do that. You visualize going to the store, your body follows. In this case, the body goes to sleep and you visualize going in space. In the Atma goes there, you. So near the ceiling, you've got these couple hovering beside you, keeping all subconscious fears turned off for this journey so you can gain the greatest benefit from it. They point upward, and we find ourselves at 10,000 feet in the atmosphere. Whether it's night or day does not matter. And you're looking down from that level, right down through the roof of your house wherever you are. And it's lit up. And you can see us all hovering there near the ceiling. This couple is still there. But you're in both places simultaneously. This is a capability each Atma has. We are multidimensional capable beings. We always have been. And then you find yourself in space, in outer space. Everybody's seen Hubble Space Telescope images and shuttle images of what it's like to look at Earth from orbit. Piece of cake. Except we're out in it as spherical energy beings. We do not feel cold. We do not feel hunger. We don't feel radiation from the sun. And we're standing in a circle of beings around Ambassador Trillian. Why him? Well, because he volunteers to be a central focus of attention so that we do not wander off into the astral and other planes and get lost in phenomena. People have been lost in phenomena for billions of years. This is a directed journey for a purpose, to source. So he's standing there with his two thumbs up, his fists closed with a golden white light around them. It's brighter than the hue or the omnipresent golden white light that is actually what space looks like to you, the Atma, when you're out there in it. It's not black. Human body eyes can only see a small spectrum of light. They can't see into that higher frequency, so it appears black to people. Even scientists on Earth today know it's not. It's powerful energy. They know that it's not nuclear, they just don't know what to do with it. Yet. So in space, you hear a sound that sounds like gentle rumbling thunder without lightning. This is the first sound behind creation as it manifests through the physical universe. It's just big. There are 144 parallel dimensions of time-rate matter, stacked one on top of the other, in just the physical universe alone. There's another 144 in the astral, in the causal, in the mental, in the etheric. This all changes when we cross through the void to the upper realities. That's because there is no matter there, no time, no space, no suns, no planets, no moons, no stars. Because we all carry our own light. We are the light and sound from the source itself. The hue that comes from the first half of the word human hidden in plain sight is simply a way the vocal cords or even the mind can send this out, and it will create a vibration through the pineal gland and open a door. This is its only function. It is not that will reach the mental plane and no higher. You have to work with the hue because it's designed to take you back home, one way or another. Trillian Zagam is showing you an 18-foot tall body for a reason, because the Seres race is the most primordial ancient human race in existence, many billions of years old. And so are Earth people, bodies on Earth many billions of years old. They weren't new, they didn't come into creation evolving out of the sea on Earth. No human being ever evolved on Earth in the first place. Ever. All the races represented on Earth could not have evolved in one atmosphere with one sun. That is impossible. People were brought here at one time or another, spanning 65 million years since the dinosaurs were made extinct. Many civilizations have come and gone on this planet, polar shifts, the whole bit. And you're all part of it, one way or another, either on Earth or as a Galactic Alliance representative coming here. In a past you were all made to forget. Except through the implants that have been removed, you find 3 lifetimes, at least for all of you or most of you, that were yours. Wonderful lifetimes. There's no negative nature in them at all. Isn't it neat that people that want to trap you make you forget looking into those where you had this incredible IQ and higher intelligence? Is once they're awakened, that starts to rub off back on the body and personality you have on Earth. It is inevitable. Out in space, there are other master teachers here. Master Ramu is in a circle over by Earth. Master Opelum's in a circle further out, generally in the same position so we do not get confused. They volunteer to do this work. They're not required to do it. They have no subconscious minds at all. So they make great teachers by example for us. The man and woman standing beside you in the circle, you're all in a circle around Trillian, and they're to each side of you right now. They're simply keeping any subconscious problems turned off, and they'll go on this journey all the way to Source with us. For some of the Galactic Alliance representatives, this is a new experience. It takes a greater experience to be able to know how to see what is in the source, prime creator, the ocean of sound and light itself we all came from, every one of us. In reality, we're still there. The Atma is multidimensional capable. It's capable of running bodies on many planes. And even though you've been made to forget what you're doing with these bodies, you're still running them. They're still your responsibility. The real formula is to get them all working with each other, your so-called higher selves, in order to help you down here. People assume their higher selves are helping them. This is, for the most part, not true. The condition of the Earth reveals that this is not true, because But each Atma is not awake enough to get them to do it. This journey, as we move upward, will come back through those forms and get them waking up with each other. It's part of the process. Etta and Din are Dren, silica-based creatures about 3 feet long, standing on their hind legs above Ambassador Trellian, and above the body form is this spherical Atma. Beautiful. Each of you are the Atma above a physical-looking form. And the form you're showing is a perfect, flawless adult, male or female, about 36. This you've carried as a visual aspect of how you show yourselves to others since the beginning. And Satnam is a first example of this human-like form. But it is not DNA. Their tails are glowing like bright crystal opal in sunlight, and they're standing on their hind legs, waving their little fingers at us. There are Atmas above them too, but they are not human. They're master teachers, however. They do teach in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. Ramu is showing you a body about 500 years old, looks to be about 36. He's wearing a maroon robe, simple sandals, black short cropped black hair and beard, and holding a staff in his right hand. It's crystalline, it's quartz, it's glowing. It has an ancient Egyptian Ankh for eternal life sitting on top of it. I take the time to share this visually with you so a certain level of respect can surface in you for them. They're already respecting you. There are 12 30-foot in diameter Galactic Alliance scout craft hovering in an orbit around the circle of beings around Turellian. They are of a blue-gray metallic hull with a thin blue anti-gravitic light around them. And they have 3 semi-spheric pods on the bottom, and we can see right through the hulls as if they were transparent, because we are Atmas. And out in space, we see the golden white light of the hue everywhere, around the Earth, around the moon, around the sun, around the stars, out in space, between galaxies. Little galaxies float in this other power. That's how it really works. You look at the Earth and you can see an electromagnetic field around its polar ice caps. The barren moon that does not turn on its axis as it orbits the Earth. That is a problem that needs correcting. The sun in the distance, a single sun. The nearest sun to Earth is binary, 2 suns. Most suns in the Milky Way are binary or trinary. The effect that has upon human life and other life on planets is startlingly different than what one sun does for people on Earth. You're looking out into this in the presence of a brighter golden white light. It's brought down from above through Turellian's fist, and he's creating an oval, kind of a brighter sphere of light, a little brighter than the hue in space. When you look up past him and past Etta and Din, you see a being standing up there in space. That is Satnam. And he is the governor, for lack of a better word, of the Atma plane, the first reality above the void. He's got 2 gold bracelets on his upper arms, bare-chested, strong. This is how he chooses to show himself to people. Bronze skin, bald head, gold eyes, white tunic dress from his waist down to his bare feet, and he's just standing there. There's a big, beautiful Atma hovering above him. That's him. And above that is a hourglass-shaped vortex of light. It's whirling clockwise. There's the sound of a single note of a flute coming through it. But it's a very enticing, intriguing sound. And there's a blue-green water-like element moving around the outside of this, but it's not water. It is a vortex of energy that's been created to bypass or go through the lower planes of time and space to connect us directly to the void, above the etheric plane. And so this energy is coming through this vortex, transparent pale blue, a golden white light that's coming down through Ambassador Trillian, out his hands to create this brighter field of view around us. So we are now plugged into the sound and light as it comes from the upper realities. We are made of exactly the same energy. What we're seeing as a light around us here comes from the source, prime creator, the ocean of sound and light itself. And the only way you can experience this is to see it and go on the journey. This is easy. You don't have any fears holding you back now, so you might as well go. Because when you come back, you'll be bringing back a pure positive energy that has no negative nature, no fear. And that will change and influence the consciousness you have on earth in ways you cannot yet see. When you look at these 12 spacecraft circling us, you see that there are 3 couples standing beside a semicircular crystalline control console that's luminous with various colors of the rainbow. And in the back, sitting next to each other, shoulder to shoulder, in a lounge, is a couple, a male and female. When you look beside you, to your right and left in space, in this physical looking form that has eyes, but is not DNA, you see this couple. They're also asleep in the back of these ships, 12 of them. So there's 2, a couple around each one of us. These beings were never born on Earth. They never had subconscious minds. They were never implanted. Then you look up and see Satnam, and he's moving up through this vortex upward. He's just starting to retreat upward, and we're following him. This is Etta and Din go up first. Ambassador Trillian, the Atma hovering above the form he should. And then we're moving up inside this vortex of light. And as we pass through the middle of it on our way upward, we can see levels of galaxies outside the transparent form of this blue-green water passing below us. And suddenly we are shot upward. And when you look down, you're looking at the top of the other end of this vortex, and way down through the opening, as an Atma, you can see we're still circling around Trillian near Earth with its polar ice caps. We are grounded in both places. And that doorway is going to be kept open so we can go up there and come back, unaffected by the negative things in the lower planes of time and space. This is important. We find ourselves looking down at this vortex and it vanishes. And now we're in this pale blue luminous reality. Everywhere around us, as far as you can see, there's nothing here but this light. There actually is a race of beings here that manage this place, but most people never see them, even on their way up or back from going higher. And then you see Satnam receding ever upward, very quickly, diminishing in the distance. Remember, this is a body form that looks human with an Atma hovering above it. And we're moving up in a circle of beings around Trillian, right after him, straight upward. In the distance, you begin to see this being Satnam recede and vanish. And then we see a little spot of white light. And as we approach it, it widens into this huge, subtly curved beach of luminous sands glowing a foot above the sand. The jungle trees along this beach are transparent. They can be fruit trees or palm trees or weeping willow trees or numbers of things that are represented here. And there are atmas hovering above groups of them. As we approach this white luminous sand, you see Satnam lower down and step upon it. The Atma is still hovering above him. He's using this body form as an example for you. The you moves through him, through you, to the Atma you are. So you can begin to gain experience about how to do this and how this works. And then you find yourself all lined up in a row on this sand, wiggling your bare feet in the luminous sand. Just keep visualizing it. Doesn't matter if you move around or whatever. Don't worry about the body on earth. It's fine. And as he reaches down, he picks up a handful of this sand. And you realize it's little round, luminous, polished diamonds. They're like diamonds, but they're much higher. And they have an energy to them, a stored energy that they're emitting. And when you look at Satnam, it goes in his hand, up his head. He looks up smiling, goes into the white core of his being. And the same thing happens to each one of you. What we're doing is taking a charge of the pure energy associated with the Atma plane, above the void, and bring it into our being, because it will affect the different teardrop faculties in the Atma and help recover them. It's a gift. We do not make it there, past the void, without Satnam's permission, without his okay. He's a guardian. Not to keep you back, but to make sure you have the right purpose for going there. The lower worlds do not mix with the upper realities. That's what the void is for. Terrellian is standing offshore as if he's standing up to his knees in ocean water. But it isn't water. It's a pure form of the hue we call the void. And as Satnam levitates up above the sand and starts to sail over the top of these trees, he pauses, and we're met by dozens of these incredible, beautiful birds. They have long V-shaped split tails, about a foot long, look kind of like a blue jay with big blue eyes. Double sets of wings like a dragonfly, but bird wings, rainbow-colored feathers, thousands of colors. And they're hovering around us, male and female, singing the hue. They're actually holding things in place here. Above each bird is an Atma, just like you. This is to instruct us in respecting all life in any form, because any intelligent form on any level has an Atma running it. And as we move over the top of the jungle, you look in the distance, you see a long snow-covered mountain range, diagonal. A botanical paradise all over the ground, and a fountain right below us. The fountain is about 15 feet wide with white scalloped stone edges. There's a statue of Satnam standing in it, with his hands down to his sides, with his palms facing forward. And there is a white golden light, brighter than the atmosphere around here, coming down through the head of the statue, filling this bowl. It's dropping around the outer edge in a glistening even sheet and vanishing in the ground behind a circular white marble sitting seat. It's supported by 12 intricately carved stone legs. In the distance, there is a crystalline type, I guess I could call it a palatial estate at the base of those mountains. When you look at the steps going up to it, they're like a golden quartz transparent steps that go up 1,000 steps to big blue stone laced gold pillars like lapis lazuli. There's a triangular opening, very large, and in the back a kind of a throne chair, a blue transparent stone, but Satnam doesn't sit in that thing. It's a tool, it's a device. There's a white golden light coming down into this crystalline structure. And behind it in the background, as we move around this huge chair, there's another triangular opening on the other side. And there's a bigger fountain out there with a white golden shaft of light coming down into it. And as we move into the back of that, the other side of these buildings against this huge mountain range, you can see vast fields, different segments, segmented or separated from each other by glowing trees, and in each one different types of animals, with Atmas hovering above them all. Cats, dogs, horses, bears, alien animal forms, but all here are Atmas running these forms so that we get an understanding of how to respect all life. Because we all once knew how to do this quite well, quite precisely, quite perfectly. Moving into this experience helps to recover this in our awareness on Earth. This is why we're doing it. This is part of it. We're going to move up into this fountain of light, this white golden shaft of light with Turelian. And as we move, we shrink as if it's like all of us in a circle of beings around him are going up this shaft of light. And Satnam is remaining standing beside it, pointing upward. And as we move up this shaft of light, we see up ahead an opening into another reality. And in it is a cobalt blue atmosphere, much brighter than the void or the blue atmosphere that surrounds the Atma plane. And we're moving up through it quite quickly, and as we come out the other side, we're moving up through the middle of a landmass, right in the center of it. And then we're hovering up above, looking down on this huge floating circular landmass. It has a white luminous beach brighter than anything below it, and a cobalt blue atmosphere surrounding this island land. There are no suns, no moons, no planets, no stars here. Everything is self-luminous. You're all providing your own light. The plants, the animals, all emanate a light. The statues, the fountains, the palace, the ground, the air. Everything has a luminosity to it. So you see planets and moons and earths and suns are not necessary. This place is held in place by very masterful beings. There is no negative nature here whatsoever of any kind. It is our native territory. And as we move up into this higher, we look down and see 6 snow-covered mountain peaks surrounding a white island surrounded by a luminous blue-green lake. And coming up out of the middle of that white island is a blue transparent glass-like tower that goes to a flattened spherical area. You can see through it, and there's a fountain in it, up to a minaret point. And that's situated in the center of the island, covering a 4-foot-high blue lapis lazuli type stone, blue stone laced with gold. There is a sphere, crystalline blue sphere that's transparent with a cobalt blue star in the middle of it. And there's a white golden shaft of light coming down into this device. So we're looking down on the central of this massive landmass. Then you look out on the horizon and you can see in 360 degrees around the circumference of this land that white roadways, pure white roadways of a type of stone, exit horseshoe-shaped tunnels at the base of these 6 mountains. They continue straight as an arrow like the spokes of a bicycle tire until they end at the surrounding luminous beach. And down the western roadway, first turn to the right, is a big pyramid in a clearing. It's 4-sided, it has a quartz crown, much bigger than the one in Egypt. And we're going to go visit that. First, we're going to pay a visit to the fountain inside the Hugh Expansion Ray Administration Tower. And when we're in it, we're surrounding another fountain. It's much larger than anything below. It has a white golden shaft of light coming into it. It's always flowing. Fills up this bowl. It drops in an even and glistening sheet, goes down the shaft of this tower, down through the landmass, down into Satnam's realm, down into the void, and on the way down to the physical universe. It goes through what are called interdimensional connective doorways. We're set up in creation in the beginning. They've always been there. We find ourselves walking down this western roadway in these forms, the Atma hovering above us. To the left is a silo-type tower, ivory colored. We're not going there. We're turning right and walking down these blue rectangular stones that go up to a blue glass door cut in half, centered in the center of the flat side of the pyramid. Those doors open and a little Asian master teacher named Light C walks out. Beautiful Atma hovering above this form he's showing you. This is not a physical body. It is an energy form that looks human. Wearing a little Fu Manchu beard, a little hat, and kind of a maroon robe with esoteric symbols on it. And he's waving us to go inside this opening. It's quite large. Terrellian's 18 feet tall and he can walk through it. The Atma hovering above him, moving this form. They have 12-stranded DNA back on the physical universe. We have 2 on Earth that for the bodies we run. We get our DNA from the Seres originally, long ago in Galactic Alliance history. As we walk inside, we're stepping onto a golden, foot-thick, glowing golden quartz-like floor. And inside is this massive chamber, hollow, except for one thing. There's a massive giant tree with roots rooted right into this quartz floor, going all the way up to a point that touches the very pinnacle of the pyramid. This is called the Tree of Life. The reason we're going through it is because this Light C character is going to lead us right through the needles, which are silver light. And as we pass through the branches, you can look into each needle and see a different world located in the lower dimensions of time and space. It's a functional device. And we're moving into the trunk of this tree, which is a powerful flow of energy going up and down it, constantly moving. And we're moving up at a tremendous speed. And we suddenly find ourselves coming out of the trunk of another tree 1,000 times larger. Silver needles on that tree. And we're stepping out into an atmosphere that has energy whirling in purple and blue and red and green, just flowing around us almost violently. It's raw power. And there's a being that's brighter and wider and more majestic than any beings we've seen below. This is Agam Purusha. It is a being that regulates the raw power from eternity through himself and passes it down to the lower planes. Such beings do not get fatigued or tired. They don't eat food. There's no night and day up here. There's no need for it. And as we pass into the trunk of this tree and come out again, we see this being, this huge spherical ball of light, address us and talk with us. This is the first thing I did when I met this being, was befriend him. Most people are terrorized about him. Although you don't bring fear here, there could be great apprehension in meeting such a being. The fear is unjustified and unnecessary. So I would recommend that all of you simply request to be friends with this being, because he's the raw power keeping you alive behind everything. You're also a co-creator with this being, if you choose to be. It's important to be aware here. This being will allow us to go into this tree of life and go up its trunk. And as we do this around Lemriel, he's still got his two thumbs up with a golden light around it. It's brighter now here. He's still involved to keep us focused on this journey. That includes me. When we come out the other side of this tree, we find ourselves in a vast, I don't know how to explain it. Yes, I do. It's a vast area of space. It has a brighter cobalt blue light by far than anything below. And in the center of it is one singular looking galaxy. Silver luminous bright light with a golden tinge to it. In the center of it, in a hollowed out interior, is one white island. Surrounding it that make up what appear to be stars surrounding galactic core are individual atoms, quite large. And we are moving with Lemriel right between them. We don't interfere with them. They don't interfere with us. And as we approach this vacuum or hollowed out area in the middle, we come to find our feet touching down on this more brilliant white sand of this one little island. Hovering above the center of it is what looks like the sphere behind my head that's on the front cover of the Emerald Doorway book. It's much, much larger than us. Twice as many layers of teardrop-shaped faculties, dozens of times more, but we look the same as it, individual drops out of a mighty ocean. What we're looking at is what we call prime creator or source. We came from here. We are the being still hovering around this center. Doesn't matter how much you've been made to forget, how many bodies you've run and how many levels for how many billions of years. This is beyond time and space and matter. There is no time here. And then we're moving in towards the center of this huge sphere of light, multicolored, multidimensional levels. And we're passing through individual teardrops. We look the same, much smaller scale, until we come to the center of the white core and enter it. Now you're inside the center of core, of source, prime creator. The sound here, it goes beyond millions of women's and men's voices singing the hue on multiple levels. It cannot be described in human terms. And it's roaring all around us. We are in fact co-creating it. In the source energy, you can hear a voice speak with you. It is not an individual being. It is not some supreme being or godly personality that lords itself over you. It is a nexus, a central focus of all atmas in the entire multidimensional creation. And it has ability to speak with you. And we co-create this. And it gives a certain message to each one of you. It welcomes you home, first of all, because that's what we're really doing. I would say that most of you probably have not been back here in many billions of years. It's about damn time if you ask me. So when you're in the middle of this thing, there is no negative fear. There's no doubt. There's none of that crap from Earth. You can't bring that even into the bottom part of the void. It does not go there. That's left turned off, back with your sleeping bodies in the lower worlds of time and space. Here, you are in the ocean of sound and light. There are two realities beyond this. The realm of the silent mentors and the hue expansion ray plane beyond that. We will not go to the realm of the silent mentors of the hue expansion ray plane on this journey. And we find yourselves looking down suddenly over the top of the 6 mountain peaks in the hue expansion ray academy. Many planes below the ocean of sound and light. We're looking down on these right roadways. And when you look down on the entire structure of this floating landmass, if you divide it into quarters like a pizza, Down the roadway in the central third, the central section of each quarter, 2/3 the way towards the coast, there's a turn to the right in all 4 sections, north, south, east, and west. And there's a clearing you can see. And we're going to the northwestern quadrant and coming down and hovering in a circle around a shaft of white golden light, Tyrellian standing in the middle of it. We're in a circle around him. There are master teachers like Ramu and Opelum and many others at a dinner here. And then you see 12 trees in a circle around what looks like a floating crystal clear sphere of light with a blue star in it. And that beam passing through Tyrellian passes into that star. And it goes out, and you can see what look like 12 giant weeping willow trees with broad spoon-shaped blue-green leaves. Standing above the tree, alternating male and female, in gowns of different colors, with hair of different color to their shoulders, are silent mentors. Above each one of them is floating an Atma 4 times bigger than any of us. Twice as many layers of teardrops in it. And when you look in the face, you can't see facial features at all. When you look in the white light of this face, you see levels upon levels upon levels of galaxies and planes. And this is how they think. These are the mechanics of creation. They normally do not have any relationship with Atmas like us or master teachers. But here, that changes. Here, we are sitting in a circle of beings between Ambassador Tyrellian, a shaft of white golden light from the source we just came from, and these silent mentors, 12 of them. They're simply moving energy like a beam of white light with a golden tinge to it. From their face, from the core of their being, passes right through us, the body form, up into the white core of the Atma, right into Tyrellian, up to his white core, and it continues to circle between that beam, through them, and back to source. It never stops moving. Here we have no negative nature to block the experience. Here we have no fear or subconscious mind. So this energy is moving through you, and it means that we are in the center of something new. Something that means we are prototypes. Something that means we are becoming something that is a bit of a cross between a silent mentor and a master teacher. They have unlimited ability, the silent ones, to travel anywhere in the multidimensional creation, from the highest reality to the lowest stone on any planet in any dimension, appear in any form they wish, carry out a mission, and you would never even know they were there. This is a unique opportunity. We are going to the northern coast from here, around Tyrellian. We're still in a circle around him, like planets around the sun. We're moving out to the northern white roadway to stand in the white luminous beach in the northern end of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. It is a place where co-creativity can take place for the first time between fellow beings to actually change, unfix, and unfinish the lower worlds of time and space so they can actually become a better creation. The old experiment of good and evil is a failed experiment that didn't allow anything to change in the lower worlds. We all know that. Now it is changing for the first time from here. Things built and created here by us are tested by Satnam in the plane below here and sent into the lower worlds of time and space. If it comes back in a wave of energy as true, necessary, and kind, people get excited in the upper worlds, and whatever that is then implemented. This is where the Hue Expansion Ray name comes from. It is a consciousness moving through the omnipresent power, what people call divine spirit, In reality, the definition of that is respect for all life, truly. And so it's moving through the lower planes now in a new way. It's moving through them in one way. It is made of an energy that is neither positive nor negative. It doesn't play favorites. But it does move through beings now to help them be free of subconscious minds altogether. To help them return to become a co-creator with the source, which is our actual destiny anyway. It always has been. Fear in any form is the only thing we ever have to let go of. Not just the primary and secondary implant stuff, but any fear we've ever had or created before we were ever implanted, out in the billions of lives where we decided never remember how to use certain faculties. Maybe we accidentally blew up a world. Who knows? But one thing leads to another. As we dwindle in the use of our higher faculties, we eventually end up in a body, vulnerable, trapped, and unaware. It takes billions of years to end up like we are on Earth. Most of you have had these incredible, in fact, you've all had lifetimes that were incredibly more evolved than the life you're living on Earth today. Recovering those helps raise your IQ and your intelligence right here on Earth. It rubs off. When you find your toes wiggling in the luminous bright sand of the northern beach, you look out into this blue, cobalt blue atmosphere surrounding this place, and you see 12 small islands. You can go up above the whole thing and see them surrounding the outer circumference of the beach. They have a dome on each one of them. These are silent mentor realms, 12 different ones that were recently formed in the U Expansionary Academy in this last year. I don't even know what they're for yet, but they have purpose. And they help hold in place new creations. It was the silent mentors that actually, because of a change in their consciousness, stopped the polar flips of Earth permanently. So people can be better here, change. They were flipping overnight 100 degrees every 80,000 years, 180 degrees. Earth is an enigma because it's a planet, it's the only one I know of that did that until it was stopped. Golden Age to Iron Age and back. What a yo-yo. That's over now. You might as well get used to it. There's not going to be any polar flip of Earth again. There are no reptilians or greys abducting people on Earth. They're not in bases underground. There's not been a new case of gray abduction in 25 years on Earth. So people are still unconscious, but the nasties are gone, and they cannot return. This is also why Earth's solar system is quarantined. It's for our own good. Here, truth cannot elude any of you. You're in the pure positive power of source energy. There is no negative nature here in you, outside of you, or around you whatsoever. This is home. This is how we really are. This is how we're meant to become aware. We need to wake all this up. It's not new, but as it's awakened in you, there's an energy moving through the omnipresent power now that provides the wisdom for one thing, so that none of you are ever vulnerable to be caught again. It is one way only. It cannot be reversed. This is the importance of this journey. There's a few people that should be here right now who missed out on this. They placed more importance on things of the earth as a priority over this journey. That was a mistake. They'll be given another opportunity. Everybody chooses of their own free will. When you have implants turned off, you do actually choose of your own free will correctly. With that stuff on, we always make mistakes. So as we return to Earth from this journey, you look down and pick up the sand in a palm of your hand on this northern coast, aware of these 12 silent mentor realms that surround the outer circumference of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And there's an energy ray coming to each one that's hitting this handful of sand from the entire circumference. And then that's going into your palm of your hand, up the top of your head, into the white core of your being. And you suddenly find yourself coming down out of the fountain in Satnam's garden. This is the 5th realm, the Atma plane above the void, coming down a shaft of white golden light. This Hue Expansion Ray Academy is built between the 5th and the 6th realms above the void in a specially created parallel dimension for this purpose, so that master beings and silent mentors can collaborate for the first time since the beginning. This is new. This did not exist before. So we are in the middle of this new creation and what it's meant to accomplish. In this journey, we become co-creators with the source behind all life. It isn't futuristic ever. It's never in the future. We're beginning this now, together. And we'll bring this back through the bodies you have in the lower worlds of time and space on our return. We're at the western roadway of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, turning right to the last teaching facility that exists at the end of the western roadway before the ocean of this cobalt blue atmosphere surrounds us. There's a reason for this. You can see what looks like an Olympic-sized swimming pool with glowing blue-green water. A redwood kind of a handrail that goes back to a building that's a huge rectangular structure. It has convexly curved vertical oval windows around the side and along the top. And those, when you look into them, go to planets in the lower worlds of time and space. They are portals. When you look at the one on the right wall and you look into it, it shows Earth. Kind of a shortcut for getting here. Then you look at these circular blue glass doors in the side. They open and a man and a woman and a son, who's a mature adult, half their size, walk out. They have tall, luminous hair. Silver hair to their shoulders, looks silver. One has red eyes, one yellow and one violet. And they're from a race that's actually situated in 5 galaxies away from the Milky Way. And there are master teachers here. And they're inviting us to go inside. And as we pass through this opening with them, we enter a huge arena the size of a soccer stadium. And in it is a glowing golden sphere of light floating up near the center of the ceiling. And there are beings moving to and fro from different races all over the multiverse. And they're moving up inside this huge sphere of light, waving their hands. Remember, these are Atmas running physical-looking forms. So all of you have the opportunity to go up inside this sphere with many other beings and just start moving your hands to create something collectively together. This is natural and normal. You'll put something unique into it. You'll see Earth is in the center of this golden sphere of light, changing. And the moon has an oxygen atmosphere. It turns on its axis. And you're adding to this from here, being part of it, part of the solution instead of the problem. And then we find ourselves out in the ocean surrounding the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. It isn't water. Terrellian standing up above the calm waves that are glowing, radiant blue light, a little darker than the atmosphere to give it the feeling of water, but it isn't. And below his feet, there's this vortex that opens up and spins clockwise, downward. We're in a circle around him. And he moves downward. We're going through this opening, this doorway of energy. There's a white golden light passing right through us, carrying us downward, until we find ourselves hovering in a circuit around Ambassador Terrellian, near planet Earth with its polar ice caps, where we started the journey. The 12 ships from the Galactic Alliance, the scouts, are still here. The man and woman standing beside you are still beside you. Then you look at the Earth with its polar ice caps, and it suddenly changes in front of your eyes. We're moving 3 parallel dimensions up in time, rate, matter to see the Earth as it exists there, in the physical universe. It has no polar ice caps. It has a moon circling the Earth, turning on its axis with an atmosphere, little oceans and domed cities. It's alive. It's vital. The sun in the distance and the stars all around us out in space, floating in a golden white light, big blue, young, white, hot, giant stars, big yellow ones bigger than Earth, smaller ones, red dwarfs, giant red planets, giant red suns. We can see them floating in this other golden white light. When you look at the Earth, there's a continent centered over the equator, from the left to the right hemisphere. It goes almost to the North Pole, about a third of the way below it, almost to the South Pole, a third of the way above it. And down near the southern one, near the bottom pole, is an upward curved, half-moon shaped, glowing emerald green beach. There are Himalayan-type mountains in the center of that continent. That is still called Lemriel today, or Mu. On the other side of the continent is another continent, the other side of the Earth, 2/3 its size. That's still Atla. Some people call it Atlantis. But this Earth never flips its poles. There are very few people on it. Master teachers, certainly. Galactic Alliance personnel, of course. Sayrays, yes. Silent mentors, visit. You find yourself wiggling your toes in emerald green glowing sand in a huge 5-mile wide curved emerald green glowing sandy beach with giant tropical trees behind you, and Terrellian standing up to his knees in the ocean water, which is a pale blue-green glowing ocean. Still got his 2 thumbs up with this higher hue around them for us. When you look inland, you can see a brown moss-covered path cut straight as an arrow between the jungle trees. And in the distance, a few miles back to the right, is a single snow-capped mountain. And you find yourself wiggling your toes in this green sand. And Satnam appears standing on the sand. He reaches down and picks up a handful of this. They're luminous spherical emerald-type crystals, glowing, charged. It goes into his palm, up the top of his head, to the core of his being. He's already bright, so we don't notice a change. But when we do it, it goes up through the top of our head, into the core of our being, and it brightens that green layer, and many of those teardrops turn on. This has to do with recovering awareness of our lives in the multiple worlds of time and space over many billions of years. Now, we can do this as the awakened Atma and share as many of those lives as we can with the consciousness you have on Earth, because the human brain can't hold such information. There's a waterfall cascading out of this single snow-covered mountain, 2/3 of the way towards the summit, pouring out of a cavern opening. It is a blue-green water flowing down a cliff face. And above it is another oval opening. It has little dome-shaped light leading down inside the mountain. We're suddenly hovering above it, around Terrellian. We're looking down at a single huge dome, clear, covering a city, at the western base of this mountain. There's a blue-green radiant forest surrounding it. The waterfall cascades down and disappears, forming a river behind this dome that goes out to the sea. There are 3 golden-sided, 4-sided quartz-capped pyramids in the back third of the inside of this dome, surrounding a lower ivory-colored dome building. These are research centers. In the background is a semi-spherical, semicircular, small mountain range with little beautiful waters glowing, cascading down its sides for the aesthetic pleasure of the people that work here. Inside the dome. It's big. There's a blue-green lake in the middle. Little domed ivory-colored dwellings and little white marble-type paths between them. The cavern above the opening for the waterfall goes down inside this mountain and comes out inside a hollowed-out interior of Mount Shasta in Northern California on Earth. It's an extraterrestrial galactic alliance base built there in 1908. If it hadn't been there, Earth and its people would have annihilated themselves in nuclear war. Simple as that. So between this Earth, which sits there in a higher parallel above the Earth you know, the moon that's alive is being prepared as a prototype, so that the moon that circles the Earth now, which is dead, doesn't turn, will become like this. And we're involved in co-creating this event. It's very interesting to be awake in this way. You look at Turellian, who's smiling with his 2 thumbs up with a golden light around it still, and we find ourselves in space, looking at the Earth we're familiar with. Polar ice caps, a barren moon that does not turn on its axis as it orbits the planet. The white golden light of the U surrounding us in space, a brighter white golden light in an oval around us and around Turellian. Satnam is still standing below that vortex opening. Energy's coming through him, down through Turellian, so we are plugged into source energy out here in space, unfettered, unencumbered, uninfluenced by any form of negative nature whatsoever. Then you find yourself hovering near the ceiling in your home. These 2 beings, man and woman from the Galactic Alliance, are still hovering there with you. The white golden light's coming through the ceiling, passing through you, through the pineal gland, the center of your brain. It's out into this electromagnetic field people call the aura, but it's much bigger than they think it is. It's moving through it and goes out into space. It connects with 3 pyramids that have been manifested on Earth. 2 of them in the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans, one inside a hollowed-out interior in a mountain in the Himalayas. And then it goes to a bigger pyramid, stationed between 2 stable asteroids, circling the orbit of a planet that was a planet in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter. And then it's beamed out to pyramids that have begun to appear between stars. And then it's beamed to the galactic core, goes up the white shaft of the axis of the galaxy, and returns to source. It's moving through us continuously for our benefit, and on its way for the benefit of others. When you're ready, open your eyes. That is a journey to source. More than that, we went inside the middle of the source, which we have the right to do. As long as you can visualize it, as long as you can see it, the omnipresent power can take you there. This is how it works. If we can't remember how to see anything, even other planets or other realities, how do we expect the one power to take us anywhere? See the point? I'm going to bring this recording to a close now. Unless you would like to ask some questions and get some answers that we want part of the recording. If you will turn on your microphones now, please, we can begin a whole nother thing for fun and awareness. And we are at the end of this journey. Would you guys like to talk about things amongst ourselves or have part of these questions, if you have any, as part of the recording? I'll leave it up to all of you. If you don't have questions, that's okay too. What I think I'll do is stop the recording and we can speak
Yeah.
freely.